Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and we're talking top baits, and it's the time of year that I just feel like there's no other time of year that you get out there and it's like those poor bass, we have all fished for them from, you know, now March in most parts of the country all the way through the summer. They've seen everything we've possibly thrown at them. It's just, they're as educated as they're gonna get. And then, you know, I feel like hunting season starts, a little bit of pressure gets off of them. They go out and they do their winter deal, and we kind of lay off those lakes for a while. And then, you know, you get back to March and, oh, I hadn't seen that vibrating jig before. I haven't seen whatever. And they bite really good. And the bite always kind of tapers as the year goes on. And September's that kind of deal. And, you know, another thing that really is interesting around September, man, I feel like the thermocline just, it kind of goes away. You know, lakes start to turn over. I have seen bass at their all-time deepest in September on a lake that they don't normally get that deep. And then a lot of times I see them really, really shallow. So I feel like your water column, let's say, you know, before where it was on your lake thermocline, you know, some lakes here in Oklahoma, a lot of dirty lakes, the thermocline's 5, 6, 7 feet. You know, you go to Grand, thermocline could be 15, 20 feet, Table Rock, you know, 25 feet. You know, so you got this water column that the majority of all the bass are in that column. Now in September, we got a water column this big. Now you've just spread the bass out that much more. You see bait fish everywhere. So, you know, there's some strikes that are against you when you go out there and diehards like we are, if you're on this channel, wanting to go catch some fish. I have positioned these baits for this time of month in what I feel like is the most high percentage situations to go catch fish. And for me, it's going to be just turn that trolling motor on, start covering water, and think shallow. Like, to me, that's the easiest, most consistent, best bite in September. And shallower than you would ever think, like dirt shallow. I just can't get over how shallow these fish can get. You know, flatter points, you know, flatter banks, up, you know, very tops of trees, you know, if you're out on a lake that's got standing timber. Think shallow when you're going through September as an option. You know, another option that you have is those deep fish. I'm not gonna really get off into that because that's a forward-facing sonar thing. That's a jig head minnow. Truthfully, that's what that is. That is the best bait if you're gonna go out there and try to attack those fish that are out there roaming 20, 30, 40 foot deep. I don't think we need to talk about that. Every channel in the country's talked about it. You know, we can talk about it again. We'll talk about it again on this channel, but just not in this video. I want to talk about old school, getting in the dirt, churning the dirt up with that trolling motor, having to replace the trolling motor after the day because I've chopped it up on the bottom. That's what I like about September. I like going to the backs of the creeks, the back of a flat pocket. You know, I like Main Lake Flat Point. So that I got baits that are, you know, directed towards that. And a lot of times, you know, in this video series, we do top 3 baits. I try to narrow it down to top 3, you know, and we give all these baits away as we always do. So I've got a little bonus for you. I've got like 5 baits out here, and I want to narrow it down to 3 top waters and then 2 other baits that I'd have tied on if I'm going to attack a body of water in September. And it's just what I've got the most confidence in. You know, I've fished a lot in September. I've been fortunate enough to win some cup events in September. These baits, these scenarios, I know work. So I got a lot of confidence in what I'm telling you about these baits. So I said 3 top waters. There's a reason I said 3 top waters because, you know, we're talking dirt shallow. We're talking a lot of times that water's a little dirtier, you know, just they feed up in September. You know, they're feeding towards the surface. They're feeding on shad. They're just eating all they can, you know, and a lot of it's right at daylight, right at dusk. You know, those are still some of the best times to fish, especially early in September. But a topwater is a great bait to throw in September. And one of the best, you know, is going to be that right there. That's just a Chopo 105, a bone-colored bait that you can cover a lot of water, makes a lot of commotion, has a very unique sound. The thing I love about a Chopo, this is the next size bigger. I love both these sizes. Bigger fish, dirtier water. You know, this is a good bait, you know, but if they won't quite commit to it, drop down to the 105, or you can even go smaller. I didn't bring one out here, you know, go to that 90 size or that 75 size. But the thing I love about a Chopo is it has a hard tail like that. That's a hard tail, you know. It's not ever gonna change on you. It's not gonna get bent. It's not gonna get hot. It's not gonna move, you know, in a tackle box. You know, if you cram a bunch of stuff you do in my tackle box, you know, in that Plano box, and I'm just sitting there trying to stand on the lid to get it closed, I'm not messing up these tails, which is a great, great thing about these baits. You know, just kind of getting into topwaters a little bit, you know, this is kind of a unique bait when you go to pick your rod. This thing's heavy, you know, this, the 105, I don't know what it weighs. It probably says on here somewhere. It weighs 3/4 an ounce, so this is an ounce. It's not your typical topwater rod. You know, a lot of times when I go to throw a walking bait or a popper or something like that, you know, it's a 6'8", 6'9" rod, you know, 40-pound braid or even, you know, 12-pound mono. You know, it's a lighter rod. This is a big old heavy bait. You don't throw it on that. I throw it on like a 7.4 medium heavy 50-pound braid. You know, you've got to have a rod that you can really launch that. My favorite rod for it's just a 7.4 medium heavy platinum Johnny Morris rod. Works really, really well for it because I can throw it a long ways. I can still be accurate with it, bring it down the sides of docks. But up your rod, you know, your setup when you go to throw these topwater baits. That's a one thing I could tell you that'll help you. That I think a lot of people just, you know, topwater rod's a topwater rod. It's not really, because you're throwing a big bait here. Colors, you know, when I go to choose a Chapo, you know, I love this color. It's the one I've got out here. This one we're going to give away in next month's video. And you ask, how do you win these baits? You know, I'm kind of all over the place here, but just leave a comment, guys. It's that simple. At the end of this video, I'm going to go through the comments of the July video. I'm going to mail one of you guys the baits from July. It's just that simple. I'll go down through the comments. You guys watching, one of you guys is going to win the bait, so kind of cool. So, you know, as far as colors, I've got the bone here. Great, great color, great all-around color for dirtier water, cloudy days, darker days, low light conditions. That's this bait. If you only get one, this is the one you're gonna get. You know, when you get in those clear water situations, Beaver, Table Rock, lower end of Grand, Hartwell, all the lakes have clear water situations. Go more with a transparent. They got a ghost minnow that's really good. I like that one a lot. And then there's times that I want that bluegill colored Chapo. You know, if I'm up north, if I'm, you know, on any of those bodies up north where shad's not a big player up there, they got that matte finish bluegill that I love. It's just, those are my three favorite colors: ghost minnow, bone, and matte finish bluegill. It is a time of the year that I throw the bigger ones. When I downsize is when things are clearer or calmer. That's when I go to that 90 or that 75 size. And those baits you can throw on your normal topwater rod, that 6.5, 6.9, 6.8 rod. You know, you can throw that smaller Chapo on those smaller rods. But, you know, when you go to these bigger ones, throw it on a bigger rod. You can handle it a lot better. It's always braid, never nothing but braid. Always keep that in mind. It's got really good hooks on it. I don't do a lot with the hooks. You know, I'm really comfortable with the hooks they got on these baits. They work really, really well. So this bait right here, I'm going to set over here because somebody is going to win that in the package when we go to do next month's video. I'm keeping this one because I just wanted to show you the bigger one. I love the 120 size. It's a lot of fun to throw. I throw these when it's windy, cloudy, just I need to move a lot of water. It's a cool bait. So, all right, the next topwater. I talk about topwaters a lot. I talk about the Jaywalker a lot, but I don't really talk about this one. I never truly have, and it's kind of a little deal under the radar. We're always looking for an advantage, always looking for something to show a fish something a little bit different. Well, you probably hadn't seen this one because it's a saltwater bait. You know, Berkley makes a lot of saltwater baits, but this color right here in the saltwater version is amazing. It's got a mirror in the middle of it. It's got a perfect thread fin shad colored back. It's got some lines down the side. I love this color. You know, that's one thing you got to figure out as the year progresses, as these fish see a lot of different baits. You got to show them different things, different colors. The name of this bait right here, it just says CLR8. I don't know what that stands for, but it just says CLR8. Probably somebody in the saltwater world knows. I just saw it on the shelf and I was like, man, I got to have that bait. That color works. And especially in the fall when things get really clear, it's just a good bait. It's just, when you look at it from the bottom, you can kind of see through it. You can see the the perfect colored grayish blue back. It's just a really, really good bait. And that's why I want to tell you about it, because you just don't see this a lot. You know, just most people don't go to the saltwater section, or they don't think about saltwater baits when they're bass fishing. You know, the only difference in this bait versus the other jaywalkers is it's got galvanized hooks, and these are phenomenal hooks. You know, just really, really good hooks, super sticky, super sharp. I don't have to change anything on this bait. So this is the bait that you go back and you throw it on that 6'8", that 6'9", you know, medium action rod, 50-pound braid, cast it out there. You know, it's a time of year, guys. I throw a topwater, sunny, cloudy. You know, I throw it. I try it. I'm gonna put it that way. It's always on my deck. You know, I don't discount throwing a topwater. I've had some of my best days in the fall, in September, throwing topwater when it's sunny. Like, it's just, it's a bait you gotta throw, and then give this color a try. You know, it's just something I wanted to show you guys in that saltwater world. It's a really, really cool color for those clear water situations, sunny days. I love that bait right there. All right, that's going over here. I'll put it back in the box when I get done with the video, and one of you guys are gonna win that. Okay, the last one. We talk about this bait quite a bit on the channel, but it's just the time of year that we throw it. I put a buzzing speed toad on a buzzbait a lot this time of year, and then if it's really calm, really clear, I just throw it by itself. I don't put the buzzbait on it because it's just a lot more subtle. So it's a really neat bait in that I can use it a couple different ways. Threading it up on a buzzbait, you know, obviously you're gonna do that in a cloudier situation, a windier situation, a stained water situation. When you don't have those, when you have clearer water, calmer conditions, you're just gonna throw it all by itself. And then when it gets really clear, you know, go with that watermelon red color or that gray color. You know, you can't go wrong with those two colors. I just get white because that gets the lion's share of the work. You know, that's just what you have when you travel the country. That's the most common color you need, but there are times that I want a few of those other colors. If you can't find those, just get black. That black's a really subtle color in super clear water situations over white. So the buzzing speed toad, again, this is gonna be on a 50-pound braid. It's gonna be on the same rod that I throw that Chopo on, like a 7.4 medium heavy rod, you know, because a lot of times I'm throwing it in cover. I'm throwing it around grass. I'm throwing it down laydowns. I'm throwing it in stuff, and I want a little bit more rod to get it out there. And on buzzbait, you know, when I throw a buzzbait, it's a 1/2 ounce buzzbait a lot of times. It's a heavier bait that I want a little bit heavier rod to throw. One thing to keep in mind, you know, just always stop, drop, pop. Something Chris Wells coined a long time ago. It's in my brain all the time when I'm throwing any type of topwater frog. You just stop reeling, you drop your rod, and then you give him the old good hook set, you know, across his eyes. So those are my 3 topwaters, guys. They work. They just work. I don't have anything else to say about it. It's just the time of year. Think about throwing those day in, day out, sunny conditions, cloudy conditions. I am just going to throw a topwater. It's one of those times of years I put it in my hand and I throw it all day long. Okay, 2 other baits. This is the time of year we talked about. They've seen everything. But a bait that I catch a ton of fish on, that I've won tournaments on, is a smaller square bill crankbait. You know, this is the Berkley 3.5 square bull is what they call it. Just a compact little bait. And the advantage of that is, you know, when bass get so accustomed to a size of a bait, you know, they can feel it with their lateral lines, you know, and everybody throws the regular square bill size, you know. One company might call them a 1.5, you know, Berkley calls it a 5.5. I think they're talking about centimeters, you know, that's the normal size, you know. Then there's bigger square bills, we talked about that on the channel, but the little one, the 3.5, is one that I throw in the fall, you know, especially I need a bait that doesn't get as deep, I need a bait that doesn't have as much disturbance coming through the water, that's just more subtle. And this is a killer. I catch giant fish on a smaller square bill in the fall. And this color right here, like just the green shad color, is just, I just love it. You know, it looks like it'd be a really clear water bait, and it is, but it also shines when you get that stained water. Not necessarily muddy, but when you get that stained water, you can see like a foot, you know, a little over a foot down, it really, really shines. It's just a good color to have in your arsenal. I throw this most of the time on 12-pound test. You know, it's such a small bait You know, what's it weigh? It says right here, it weighs like a quarter of an ounce. You know, when you try to throw something like this on 17 or 20, it's just harder to throw. So throw it on like a 7-foot medium heavy cranking rod, 6/8 to 1 gear ratio reel, but 12-pound test. You know, just I'm throwing it down laydowns, I'm throwing it down sides of docks. You can get away with 12-pound test 90% of the time. You know, there are times that a fish will get you wrapped up and it's gonna break your heart, but the amount of bites that you will get using 12-pound test far outweighs the negative aspect of every now and then breaking a fish off. Trust me on that. The bait runs better. Any of those small crankbaits run better on a lighter line. Really, really important. So experiment with retrieve when throwing your crankbaits in the fall. It's a time of year that I will reel a bait as fast as I can reel it. It's time of year that I may hold my rod up high and I don't want to make contact with the bottom. It may be a time of the year that I'm going to hold my rod down low and try to make contact with the bottom, but experiment with all those things. Stop and go, especially the speed. You know, I just can't tell you enough, and I've said it before, you cannot out-reel a bass. You got to think about these fish have seen our baits all year long. I don't want them to think about it. It's just one of those inept reactions, like, man, voluntary, you know, somebody, you know, swerves at you on the road, you automatically are gonna jerk even though they're not necessarily coming in your lane. It's just same thing with a crankbait, man. The faster you reel at, they can't think about it. They just eat it out of reaction. Think about that this fall when you're reeling this bait in. Try reeling it as fast as you can. Okay, my last bait, guys. It's the time of year that you get these back out, spinner baits. I don't know what it is about it. I think it has to do with being up in the water column. I think it has to do with they're feeding on shad so much. I think it has to do with the small blades on this compact bait. But a spinner bait, you know, if you go back and you look at some of the videos that I have filmed, August, September, October, in that time frame, I've had some phenomenal days throwing a spinner bait. One tournament's throwing a spinner bait in September. So it's a time of year that you get this back out of your box and you start throwing it, because we're talking about fishing shallow. We're talking about fishing stained water. We're talking about, you know, fishing those windier banks on a lake. And we'll talk about all that stuff over there in those where to start video series that we do. But it's the time of year to get the spinnerbait back out. This particular model is a 1/2 ounce compact spinnerbait. It has a lot of weight in here behind the head. It has smaller, thinner blades. These are unique Berkley blades. You can't find these blades anywhere else on the market. They built these blades specifically for each bait. We didn't take somebody else's blades and put them on this bait. They made their own blades for every size and every style spinnerbait. So they're very, very unique. But double willow, when I've got cleaner water, I'll go with a tandem willow as the water cools and I slow it down a little bit, or as the water gets dirtier. So the tandem willow's got the you know, the little Colorado blade up here and a willow leaf down here. You know, obviously a double willow is this. That's going to be your clear, sunnier condition type bait. When you need to move a little water, when you need to make more of a disturbance, go with that tandem willow. So, guys, that's the top baits for the month of September. It's a fun video series to do. I'm going to try to get out and do some videos here real soon, catching some fish on these. Had a great season. We made Red Crest, a little update on that. Super excited about that. Got a team tournament coming up. Can't wait to get off into that. Don't know where we're going yet. They will announce that about a week or two before the tournament. But me and Justin Cooper are going to go fish, and we're planning on taking everybody's money. So I'm looking forward to that event too. So let's get off to the winner right here. Dustin Grant 2062. He said, man, thanks for all the great info. It's helped me and my son more than you know. Man, Dustin, just thank you for leaving that comment. That's great that it's helped you and your son. So send me an email through my website. Really simple. This is the only winner, no other winners. I'm not ever contacting you guys or sending any emails or social, whatever. You have to contact me, Dustin. Just send me an email through my website and your address. I can't thank you enough for leaving the comment. Really helps the channel, guys. If you don't mind, be sure to hit that like button, that subscribe button. Catch a bunch of fish. September can be tough, but here right around the corner, it's going to get really good. We're going to start having the lakes to ourselves because everybody's going to be hunting, and keep some of the stuff that I said in mind. You know, just shallow, windy, cover water. You can't reel it too slow. I promise you, reeling it faster, a lot of times you'll get more bites, and keep that topwater in your hand throughout the day. Until then, good fishing. We'll see you next week.